You're scaling your Facebook ads wrong, and I can prove it. So most clothing brands scaling ads right now are doing it by duplicating campaigns, messing with budgets, testing new audiences, and every single one of those moves is costing you money. So the gurus online are teaching a system that worked 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Duplicate the ad set, test broad, scale the winner, run a testing campaign, and if it doesn't work, it must be your creative. Now, the problem is the method. So if you're running Facebook ads for your clothing brand, you're spending money every single day and you're not sure exactly when to scale or when to pull back, this video is for you. I'm gonna show you the exact scaling system we use with our clothing brand clients. I'm calling this the profit scaling method. I'm gonna walk you through a real ad account today. Honestly, I'll probably show you multiple. The exact structure, the exact numbers, and the exact moment we decide to scale. Now stick around, that walkthrough is going to come up in just here in a second. I just wanna say a quick hey, howdy, and hello. So I'm Aaron, I'm a co-founder here at BitBrandy, and we exclusively work with clothing brand founders. And in the last 12 months alone, we've worked with over 300 of them growing profitably online. This brand and this brand, these are real clothing brands running the exact same system. Now let me show you exactly what the old way looks like and why it's killing your profitability. Now, most clothing brands' ad accounts I audit look like this. They're creating campaigns that look like this. They have a campaign that is a creative test campaign, or they'll create a scaling campaign. This one was for sales, this one was for traffic. Then they were pushing and boosting Instagram posts. If they went in here for the traffic campaign, you had like this bottom of the funnel stacked. So you look inside of here and they like stacked all these different interests together. So they're going after detail targeting and interests that are like streetwear, fashion, all genders, running it open, completely stacking these audiences. Then they ran a broad campaign, right? And this was another one here, streetwear apparel from 18 to 40. Sometimes they'll do like a retargeting campaign, ad sets split by interest, like I mentioned, they're gym people, streetwear fans, 25 to 34. Then some people are actually still doing lookalike audiences, right? Where it's taking like the core group of people that you have that have purchased from you and then creating another audience from that, and they think that lookalikes still work. And every time something doesn't work, you duplicate it, tweak the budget, and hope. Here's the truth. Meta doesn't need you to tell it who your customer is anymore. Meta's algorithm is smarter than any interest stack you're going to build. What Meta needs from you is a profitable offer and patience. Those who can spend the most to acquire a customer will always win. I think that's a quote from Dan Kennedy, which is basically like, if you know your numbers so well that you can spend more than your competitors to acquire, you will get that customer. And as long as you can do it profitably down the line, you will continue to win. But you can only spend more when you actually know those numbers. And that's where we start. You have to know your break-even ROAS. And to be clear, ROAS does not define the business. Honestly, like ROAS is just whatever. It's a number that everybody on the internet understands. That's why I'm going to use that. But you do need to know what your break-even return is. Okay, so let's take your product. Let's say the product is retailing for $65. The cost of goods, right? So COGS, fabric, manufacturing, labels, etc. Let's call it $18, right? So we got $18 from here. Shipping to your customer, $7. So we got another $7. The transaction, payment processing fees, let's just say it's another $2. That hard cost right there before a single ad dollar spend, that's $30 in hard costs, right? So right here. And then taxes and a buffer for returns, let's say is another $3. All of this is $30. $30 in hard cost before a single ad dollar is spent. That leaves you $35 in gross margin. All right, so $35 in gross margin on a $65 sale. To break even on the ads, your ROAS needs to be at least a 1.86. So the easiest way for you to do this is just take the number 1 divided by your actual profit margin, which after all of this is roughly 55%-ish. And so we need a 1.81, 1.82, right? And let's kind of round it here, specifics on this, 1.86. So you could do that and it's gonna give you and tell you a number like 1.86, 1.85, etc. And that means for every dollar that you spend on ads, you need $1.86 back just to not lose money, not profitability. Now here's where it's getting interesting. If you know your lifetime value, meaning that I work off of this, right? So you have 30-day, 60-day, 90-day. You could extend this as far as you would like, but I prefer to focus on the 30-day and 60-day return on ad spend, or the lifetime value rather, because that just means that if you can spend $1 today, right, and then you can break even today, but in 30 days you could double your money, you make significantly more through the lifetime value. So your true break even ROAS is actually a lot lower because the second purchase is almost pure profit. We're gonna get this purchase not just from ads, but actually from email. We've acquired them, and now we get them to purchase again through something that is much more profitable. Now, that number is what most clothing brands never calculate, and that number that tells you exactly how aggressive you can spend with your ad spend. Some of you may be saying, okay, well, I don't know how much it's going to take for me to acquire a customer. I also don't know my lifetime value because I'm so new. Well, that is fine. Everybody has to do that stage of business. If you're doing $100,000, $500,000 a month, you should know these numbers. If you don't, I honestly don't know how you got to this stage, but if you're below those numbers, let's say you do less than 100K per month right now, having these numbers is what's going to allow you to grow aggressively, okay, or profitably and aggressively. All right, so I want you to write this down. Your break-even ROAS is your scaling trigger. Everything in this profit scaling method, right, in this profit scale method runs off of this one number. Now, in a second, I'll show you inside a real ad account how we use this every single day. But first, let me show you the campaign structure that makes all this possible. So here's what the profit scale method looks like inside an ad account. One campaign, that's it. Now I had this thing here with like this bat testing. This is a super old campaign, but literally you can see right now this is one campaign on last 30 days, 5,000 purchases, $5,000 a day. There's no testing campaign. There's no scaling campaign. There's no retargeting campaign. There's one campaign. There's broad targeting. There's Advantage Plus placements. Now we do, for the most part, not do everything and every placement, mostly because sometimes the videos should look a little wonky on certain areas, but we let Meta do what Meta does best: find our audience. Now inside the campaign, you have your ad sets. Each ad set is a new concept, a new creative angle, a new offer, a new hook, not a new audience. And I say that by saying it's the same person that we're going after. For example, you guys are clothing brand founders. However, some of you guys may be at $1 million per month or more. Some of you guys may be at the very beginning stages of your business. You guys are both clothing brand. I say guys, girls too. Watch the channel. But you guys are both in the same category. However, what I talk at a high level strategy is going to be completely different for a brand that is at 500K per month versus 5,000 per month. And when you find these people, yes, it's a different person, but it's going to attract them differently based off of the creative angle. So Meta technically is going after a different audience type. So it is, even though I say it's not a new audience, it technically is. It is a new concept though. So when you split by concept instead of by audience, you're feeding Meta better data. You're saying, here are 3 different ways to talk about my brand, and go find people who respond to each one of them, right? And so you have something like this where it's a big circle of your total addressable market, right? Call this TAM. And then you have a pocket over here that's maybe the lowest hanging fruit. All right, so I'm gonna put an L here for that. For the lowest hanging fruit, then you have the next audience, right? That's a little bit medium, right, in size. They're a little bit colder. And then you have like a good chunk of people who are completely cold that don't know who you are, and you have to talk to each one of them slightly different. And you want Meta to go out there and go find the people who respond to each one of them. Each ad set, each creative is going to talk to these audiences differently. If you were my best friend, I would talk to you completely differently than if I met you for the first time on the street, or if we're going to a professional dinner, right? And that's going to be the difference here with your ads. How do you show up to those people? But the cool thing is, and love technology, Meta will find them. You just have to give it the right message. Now, this is why creating new concepts is how you scale when things start to die out. You don't duplicate, you create. So I just want you to hold up one second. If you're a clothing brand owner and you want us to look at your actual ad account and your real numbers, and we talk through that data, we offer a no-cost 45-minute strategy session. There are limited spots. You can check out the link in the description, pick a time that works best for you down below. Okay, so here is the profit scale method. Here's the actual method. Now, every single morning, I look at the 3 days of data, not yesterday, 3 days. Okay, so you need at least 3 days here. 1 day of data is total noise. Even if you're having a bad day or a great day, it doesn't matter, right? You need a little bit of a trend line. Okay, so I'm looking at one thing, and that is, am I above my break-even ROAS for the last 3 days? And if yes, I increase that budget by 5%. Not 20%, not double, 5%. Now here's why 5% matters, and I'll show you exactly what I do here in a second when I'm writing this out. So here's why 5% matters. When you increase a budget by more than 20%, Meta resets the learning phase. Now, if you get to a certain point and you're like spending a ton of money, for example, this brand right here, I'm not saying it's a ton, but we're spending $5,000 a day. If we do that, Meta may give you specific information or say, hey, you may actually be able to go up by this dollar amount per day because it has enough data to make those decisions. But Meta resets the learning phase at some point if you make those changes. Now, it's always learning, right? And I don't care if something's, if it is learning, but the algorithm has to go find your audience all over again, right? So you're throwing away the data you pay for. However, the 5% to me is also, it's kind of like a small chunk, right? It's, don't come after me, PETA people, but it's like eating an elephant, right? You just need to do it one bite at a time, right? One bite at a time. And so if that's the case, 5% becomes very manageable, right? It also, for brands that are scaling up, it allows you to keep track of inventory, because if you scale too quickly, you'll run out of inventory from your best-selling product, and then because your best-selling product has now sold out, your ads are going to completely drop off, and you have to find new winning ads to go after products that weren't going to sell as well anyway. Versus doing it by 5%, you're allowing yourself enough time to say, oh, I'm losing my inventory cushion, and so I need to reorder before I now increase my budget by so much that I run out of products in the next 30 days, okay? So it's a very manageable piece until you get to a high level, but even brands at 500K or $1 million per month, they still run into this issue because a brand is either inventory or demand constrained or supply constrained. 5% is invisible to the algorithm, right? It barely notices it, but it compounds a lot, okay? Real quickly, this is what I do, all right? So let's just say at this stage, this is a Monday. All right, so let's just say this is a Monday. I would look at Sunday, Saturday, and Friday, okay? So I'm looking at these 3 days, right? And if these 3 days average, and in our example earlier, a 1.86 or above, then on Monday, I'm going to increase the spend by 5%. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's at $30 a day, $100 a day, $1,000 a day, doesn't matter. I'm gonna do the same thing for Tuesday, okay? In Tuesday, I'm looking at Monday, Sunday, and Saturday, and if it is profitable, right, at those points, break-even return on ad spend of above 1.86, I'm going to increase by 5%. This will not work long-term if you do not understand lifetime value, okay? You can increase by the average order value and get above that. For me, I probably would be like, look, as long as it's a 2, I got enough cushion here, I can make it work. In the beginning stages of a business, you kind of have to go off of break even. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting at a very small percentage of growth for the business every single day until you either get more capital to spend, right? And that could take 6 months, or you could do crazy amounts of organic. I'm just talking specifically for ads. How do you scale it up? $5,000 a day, increasing by 5% every single day, that's a lot of money, right? And for $5,000 a day, if you increased it by 5%, that's an extra $250 a day. And then $5,250 increased by 5%, right? It adds quickly. You can start to really spend some serious money on this. But I do it this way, okay? If it's above the break even, okay, I increase by 5%. If it's below break even, I keep it where it's at. If it's dropped dramatically, I'm looking at potentially adding in new creative, because that's probably what happened. I'm checking inventory, or I will decrease by 5% depending on the other factors, right? Meaning I ran out of my best-selling product. Do I need to create new creative for a new product, or has my creative died and I need something different? That's the determining factor, that extenuating circumstance for this piece. So if you start at $100 a day and increase 5% every day, you're profitable. Day 1, you'll be at 140, or sorry, day 1, you'll be at 100, day 7, 140, day 14, 198, but by day 30, you'll be at $432 a day. You went from 100 a day to over 400 a day in 30 days, okay? And let's say at that point you are profitable. Let's say you're getting a 2x return. Now you're having $800 days. We can really scale up without ever resetting the learning phase, without ever really thinking logistically what the problem is going to be. You don't have to go through all of these issues, right? That's the profit scale method, and it's why we use it. Now, what happens when it stops being profitable? One, you don't panic, you don't kill it, you hold and you watch it again, right? Use this 3-day window to just make sure that it's good. And if you're below your break-even ROAS for 3 consecutive days, that's when you look at, again, updating the creative. Is the concept fatiguing? Is the offer weak? Am I out of product? That's when you build a new concept, you launch a new ad set, and let it complete. You never scale what isn't profitable, and you never kill what just had one bad day. Big mistake. I see this a lot. People freak out. They message us all the time. We have an app, which is great, but at the same time, they come inside of the app and they're like, hey, what happened? Like I was doing $500 a day in spend yesterday, and I was crushing it, and then now today it's not doing well. It's like, look, it's been 3 hours, okay? That's probably never been you, but for future you maybe. Okay, so I promised you an ad account walkthrough at the beginning of this video. Here is the ad account. Now, a couple of things that I would tell you is that Ads Manager is fine in the sense that, like, if you're spending $100 a day, $200 a day, and you are only using Meta, you're really not sending a bunch of emails, you're really not doing anything with Google, you're fine with metadata. It's probably 80% accurate, maybe 75% accurate. If you are doing more than that, or running ads on Google and doing a bunch of email, and you're truly diversified, you need to know where you're profitable. And so we use a tool called TripWell. There's a link in the description down below. I believe you can get a discount from that, but whether you use TripWell or something else, it doesn't matter. You need an attribution software because this data inside of Meta is only going to give you partial information. Is it going to be 100% off? No. Is it going to be mostly accurate? Yes, but 20 to 30% at $5,000 a day, that's a big number. The ad account is very simple, right? We have 3 different ad sets going on. You can see over here the amount of purchases and then kind of where the return on ad spend is. On this product, with cost of goods, with taxes, with shipping, etc., we're at about we need a 1.7, 1.8 to be profitable. Obviously, at this point, you can see here we're at a 4.8, 3.89, 4.41. We're making a good chunk of money on, this is cost per purchase, not on acquisition, okay? So big clarity point there. However, anything above a 2 for us, for the cost per purchase, is significantly profitable because we know that about 25 to 28% of our customers are returning and the rest of them are new, which means the majority of these people, because we use Meta as our main acquisition play, are coming in, and so we are extremely profitable on them. The cool thing with TripWell, our attribution software, is you can actually see what Meta says and then what's truly should be attributed to the platform, so you know what to scale or not scale. The breakdown is very simple though, okay? So like I would just look at this, very simple. I look at the, let's just, for this context, today's the 15th, I will look at this as the 11th through, I'll look at these 3 days, just give us full context here. All right, so during those 3 days, I was at a 5, a 3, and a 4. So I'm gonna go back to the campaign. I'm literally going to go over here. We're going to go to the campaign, hit edit. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to increase. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. It says, you spend on average $5,000 per day. Your maximum daily spend is $6,250 and your maximum weekly spend is $35,000, okay? It could give you an option here to increase the budget even more, but all I would do is come in here and go to $5,250 and hit apply and be good, okay? I'm not going to do that today, but just give you some context. That's all I would do. Literally every single day after looking at the numbers, going to increase the budget, keep it the same, or drop. Now, tomorrow morning, this is what I would do. I would go in here, I would look at those numbers, and I would increase it by 5%. No more 5% today, nothing like that. I'm just literally going to do it every single day. Now, if it goes bad, then again, I could kill one of the ad sets and launch a new ad set or new ads inside of the creative. Now, we launch new ad sets really about once a week, even at $5,000 a day. Again, we're not interested in throwing a ton of creative out there. We're interested in creating variation and diversification of the creative. So founder-led story, carousel, product shots, like variety of that. Everything at this point has all been launched in the last 2 or 3 days, and it's still kind of learning, but I still need 2 to 3 days before I let it breathe and get some data, even when I'm spending that much. But that's it. That's the whole system. Now here's where I want to make this even easier for you. I want you to comment the word Claude down below, and I'll send you an exact Claude AI prompt to use that we calculate the break-even return on ad spend. So I'm saying Claude because everything is kind of bundled together now because we're big fans of Claude and how it can apply to your clothing brand. But everything inside of those Claude prompt packs, including how to do the break-even ROAS and map out your profit and scale method numbers, it'll help you write out new ad concepts when your current one starts to fatigue. So this AI system that we're building for clothing brands right now, you just comment the word Claude, I'll send it over to you and you'll be able to have everything right there. Look, scaling ads doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need a testing campaign and a scaling campaign. Hopefully I've proven that. You don't even need a retargeting campaign and 17 different ad sets by interest. You need your number, you need one clear campaign, and you need to increase by 5% every morning that you are profitable. That is the profit scale method, and it works. Now, if you want to take this even further, what is great about YouTube is it knows what video you should watch next. Go watch one of these two right here. I'll see you next time.